Hey everybody, hello and welcome. I hope you're doing very well. I'm outside. It's the first time filming a video outside in a while. So excuse me if it's gonna be really loud. There's children playing, there's traffic, there's construction down the street, just all of that stuff. One thing that I really wanted to talk about on this channel for a while, but I wanted to wait until I had a better grasp about how to take care of it, is this guy here. So this here is Philodendron Florida. It's huge, and it's got so many different growth points. So I wanted to give some basic information on this because I'm about to divide it, and I think it's a beautiful day, good time to talk about this plant. So the Philodendron Florida, this is specifically Philodendron Florida Green. You can get a mint one, you can get the Florida Ghost one, which starts off white and then it gradually deepens into more of like a jade green. And there's the Florida Beauty. There's so many different varieties of this guy. But this here is a cross of two different philodendrons. It's a cross in between Philodendron pedatum and Philodendron squamiferum. And I think it's the best of both worlds. So it's actually very similar to Philodendron quercifolium, which is the oak leaf philodendron too. Its two parental plants are both native to tropical South America. So you got Brazil, you got parts of Venezuela, Colombia, Ecuador. Very mountainous, very high precipitation areas, so just true rainforest, with a slightly more continental hot summer. So the traits that this plant here gets from its two parents are the pedatum gives it this really beautiful kind of serrated multi-lobed leaf, although the pedatum does actually have more lobes to it, and the leaves are a little bit bigger on pedatum usually. And it has these little hairy structures. I don't know if that's going to focus on the petioles here. That is from the squamiferum. So squamiferum means fuzzy or furry, so that's kind of the trait that this here gets from its original parent. So now the care tips that I'm going to talk about here are applicable to Philodendron quercifolium, Philodendron pedatum, Philodendron squamiferum, and the Florida. One thing that I will say is if you have a variegated variety, just naturally because it has less chlorophyll in it in the variegated spots, or if you have one that has half moon leaves that are half variegated, they're going to need a little bit more light just to kind of push out new growth because there's less photosynthetic material, there's less green on it, ergo you're going to need more light. These guys here I find are more of a high light philodendron. They get a lot leggier, a little bit unsightly if you have them in too much shade. Of the philodendrons I have, this one here requires more light than the black cardinal. It requires more light than my Congo Rojo, my Emerald Dance, and I even think that this here actually requires more light than Philodendron varicosum, which is insane because that's a light guzzler, that plant, in my opinion. So you're going to want to give it a good southern exposure if you're growing it indoors in the north, northern exposure if you're growing it indoors in places like Australia and New Zealand. It's a fast grower, you guys. This here's a very fast grower, and it does wonderfully on a moss pole because it likes climbing. This is by no means a spreading, crawling philodendron. It likes going vertical. You'll get the biggest, most mature leaves if you grow it up on a moss pole. Yeah, so it has these wonderful caterpillars. I don't know if that's showing there. But the new leaves, they come in this beautiful kind of, I don't even know what to call that. It's, in some light it looks almost like strawberry, and in other lighting it looks kind of more like red. And these caterpillars are just wonderful. And the interesting thing that I find in this particular philodendron that I don't really see in a lot of climbing philodendrons is they have these little axial buds that emerged right at the exact same time as the caterpillar. That's super cool. They also got aerial roots, which is a nice kind of addition that's pretty common across all philodendrons, especially the climbing ones. If you wanted to take a cutting of this one, I recommend taking a cutting a couple centimeters below a node. So this here is a node. It's where you get the growing point, the junction of the petiole of another leaf, and some aerial roots. That's how you know you have a node. And usually if you take off the sheath that covers the caterpillar, you'll get an abscission layer here. So you want to cut below that, because if you cut at that site, it doesn't regenerate roots very well. For this plant here, I don't recommend taking single node cuttings. I find that they regenerate a lot quicker if you have 2 nodes or even 3 nodes. I don't recommend using wet sticks. I'm not saying it's not impossible, but I've had horrible results using wet stick propagation, which is where you get kind of like a node and an internode and no leaves. Yeah, I don't recommend that for this one. I think it needs a little bit more beefed up material. I don't know if you can see here. I got like what I call 5 heads, because what I did was I planted them in groups here, and I'm going to divide them now because they're kind of outcrowding each other. They look wonderful in groups. The best thing that I personally think you can plant these in is cocoa coir, or a well-balanced tropical potting mix that has lots of perlite and vermiculite, because they don't like sitting in a lot of water. They are prone to rot. You'll start to notice yellowing on all of the leaves, particularly the middle kind of mid-mature leaves, if you water too much. They like to be a little bit pot-bound though. They definitely don't mind sharing space with their neighbors. I just got this one in this pot I got from Home Depot. Another thing I really want to say is as this plant matures, it develops many more lobes. I don't know if you can see this beautiful new leaf coming in. But this here is kind of a more juvenile leaf. Starts off without lobes, and then it gets like this here. It gets 2 lobes, and then it eventually gets 5 to 7 to 9 lobes, and so on and so forth. Kind of a similar habit to the Philodendron Saloom and the Philodendron Xanadu, the way that it just continues getting more and more lobes. This plant here is a humidity lover. I think that it's quite versatile in that you don't necessarily need really high humidity. 40–50% is fine, but it definitely grows a lot faster in like 70–80% humidity. Just another thing that I want to say, actually a couple of things that I really want to say. Do not be alarmed if you get like kind of a sugar forming on the new growth tips. This is 2 things. So this is guttation. So basically the plant expels extra water when you've watered it too much outside of its stomata or its pores, and it produces this natural sap just as the sheath falls off as a new leaf comes by. I figure that's probably in part just to lubricate it. If you want to propagate these guys, they do not propagate from leaf cuttings. I've tried, when I was just getting into philodendrons, I tried to just cut off some of the petiole without a node. 900 out of 901 times it fails. And even if you do get adventitious roots, it's incredibly ridiculously unlikely that you can start a new plant. If anything, it'll just keep that leaf alive for a while and then it'll fade off, kind of like what you would see in a leaf cutting of a Hoya carrii or the heart Hoya, for example. This plant here likes to dry out a little bit in between waterings. I water mine twice a week in the summer, maybe once every 10 days or so in the winter. It doesn't really require a whole lot of water, I find. Just kind of more of a cosmetic thing. If you're watering this, it has a very waxy cuticle. So you'll notice that it is prone to getting like water stains. I don't know if you can see that there. Nothing that a little bit of like leaf shine or like neem oil spray can't combat, but just something to notice. So I know a couple of my friends had one of these and they were like, oh no, mine has like a fungus on it. And I was like, no, you just probably have to dust off the water spots on your plants. Yeah, so the parent plants, the main difference is definitely the petiole. On the Philodendron pedatum, this here is usually more of a red, or more of a green color. On the squamiferum, it's more of a rust kind of red color. This plant, if you want really big mature leaves, definitely have it growing vertically. You want to mimic its natural habitat, which is incredibly saturated, warm. This plant is cold hardy to about -1 degree Celsius. I'm not sure what that is in Fahrenheit, probably like 30 something, maybe 40 something. I'm not good with my conversions there. Sorry to my American audience, but I do not recommend keeping this guy in the cold. Definitely the kind of plant that likes it to be warmer. 17, 18, 19, 20 degrees in the winter is a good kind of benchmark temperature. If you're going into the summer, these guys like it well into the 30s. If you're going to put it outside though, remember to acclimate it. So just introduce it to the direct sunlight slowly. Maybe start having it out for a certain time of the day, maybe in the morning and the afternoon, where you don't have as direct sunlight. Yeah. This plant here is prone to spider mites. I know, it's sucks. Everything seems to be prone to spider mites. I recommend spraying it with neem oil maybe once a week if you experience spider mites, or misting it very heavily if it's in the summer and that moisture has time to dry off and evaporate within the day so that you avoid fungal problems and rot. Another thing I want to say is growing this one outside, I noticed that black vine weevil really liked attacking the roots, so just watch the soil, make sure that the area around your pot, if you have it in a container, is relatively clean, and just to avoid problems like that. This plant here is toxic. If you have little children and stuff, I recommend keeping it in an area away from them. Maybe telling them not to eat it. Wouldn't recommend it if you have like small dogs nearby. Maybe have it on like a stand. Yeah. You can air layer it. You can put like a little bit of cocoa coir or fiber around a node. That works just fine. Put it around a Ziploc bag, tie it up, wait about a month, and then you should have aerial roots that way. If you want to grow this via water propagation, this is a pretty slow philodendron, I find. It's not as fast as philodendron. Which one's the one I'm thinking of? Like melanochrysum or even micans or other more trailing philodendrons are a lot faster to root than this one, so don't expect roots super quickly. And I would wait until the roots are about 2.5, 3 inches at least in length before transferring those guys into soil. Because they don't acclimate very well. They have a lot of transplant shock if you get them when they're a little too juvenile. The inflorescence on this guy is very similar to other members of the Araceae family. It's got a spathe, it's got like kind of a spadix, it's pretty nondescript, it's kind of a lime green to cream color. You can definitely create your own hybrids, I guess. I think this has been around for long enough that it's legal to reproduce it. They make wonderful gifts for friends. I've never had problems with thrips or mealybugs on this guy, so definitely keep an eye out for them, but I haven't personally had issues with that. Watch out for like tears and stuff. This plant's really good at compartmentalizing, which means that if you get like a little tear or rip on the leaf, don't cut off the leaf. The plant will essentially just kill off the cells in the middle of that lesion and then regrow, and then it'll be fine. As you can see here, it just keeps growing, and it heals over really quickly. Yeah. So this is my beautiful philodendron, Florida green. The bottoms of the leaves are really beautiful too. I saw these guys at Home Depot too for same size as this one, so I kind of feel like, why have I been growing this forever when you can just get it at Home Depot for like 20 bucks? Their prices have definitely depreciated a lot. A couple years ago, especially in Canada, these were a little harder to find. So the mint variegation and the Florida Beauty might be a little more expensive, but definitely don't pay more than like, depending on the specimen, like 200 Canadian dollars or like 170 US dollars is what I would say, because I think that the prices are going to go down. And I'm really sorry if you're selling these. I don't want to criticize your business. But yeah, so have a beautiful day, you guys. I'll be back. I'm gonna be doing a lot more gardening outside. Lots more veggies. I've been kind of very heavy on the aroids lately. I got a video coming up on Domino Spathiphyllum, which is gonna be exciting. And just thank you for all the support, you guys. Stay blessed. Have a beautiful day. Stay safe. And yeah.